for Texas. Yeah. Frank Beard, drummer ZZ Top, has passed. And at age 77, it was not a life that was wasted. And it's always a touchy subject to sort of gauge and sort of measure such things, because I submit that in 100 years, no one will know any of us were here. They won't know James Parker was here. They won't know you were here. They won't know Mike Traina was here. They definitely won't know Garrett was here. But they won't even know Frank Beard was here. And Frank Beard is someone who's kind of made it to the elite levels of pop culture. But also he's a double local, because he was born in Frankston, Texas, which is over by Bug Tussle. In fact, I think that's one of the towns I have called Bug Tussle before. And then he moved up here, went to Irving. So double local here. And the cool part was that Netflix documentary that came out 2 or 3 years ago. Did you see that one? The Netflix series on ZZ Top? Because they talk about recording, like getting together and how they met, and there was just two of them. And then when Dusty and Frank, when they were all got together and jammed for the first time, they tell that story, and it's almost like going on a first date with your wife. But they tell stories about recording their first big album in a studio in Tyler. They talk about going to the Country Tavern to get some ribs over in Kilgore. And you know they're from Texas, and they're locals, but I mean their whole story, they didn't like leave and go to Hollywood and record their albums. They didn't fly up to stupid old New York City to some fancy pants Yankee studio to get it done.
New York City!
They were from Texas, and they maintained their Texan status, and they were noticeably different. So that's super sad. Also, I already had people reach out to me. Wait, can you give me the link to get the free tickets to the GOP convention that's coming up next month? Bro, I said in the segment, they are shared out on the Facebook page and the X feed for WBAP. I'm trying to drive web traffic, okay? I'm trying to get you to go to these things and follow us and click the links and get some sort of social media capital out of that. But no, actually, if you're going to say something funny, I'll send you the direct link. Jay sent me a message on Facebook. He said, how does a fat veteran in overalls get into that shindig? And so I sent him a link. It said, this is the link for fat veterans. And so I'm not wrong. That link does work for fat veterans if you want to get in. But all right, let's get back to some serious news here. Let's just to set the table. This was Donald Trump on Friday making the statement that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be U.S. territory pretty much.
And after we finish defeating Iran, which is being very badly defeated, pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. Essentially, that's what it is. We have the blockade. No ships get through unless we want them to.
Now, the criticism over the weekend, of course, they were focusing on, was he going to annex the Straits of Hormuz? Was he going to put troops on the ground? How's he going to do that? It's like, dude, he's not going to. We're not going to make the Straits of Hormuz our 51st state. But Jon Ossoff, he is a senator from Georgia. He went on a little tirade here, and I think he was trying to make a specific point, but he just, I don't know if like the TDS kicked in or the talking points just volcanoed out of him. But he went on a little tirade about how Trump sucks. Now, the only reason I'm playing this for you, this isn't important. You don't care what Senator Ossoff thinks about Trump. It's because I'm going to play you Trump's reply to it coming up after this.
And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
And hating this guy is a hobby. It's a part-time job in some circles. We get it. You hate the guy. Now, the fun part was yesterday, Trump was asked about his response to Senator Ossoff.
Jon Ossoff said you'd rather
rather travel with your aide, Natalie Hartman, build the ballroom than do your job as president. What is your
Who said
response,
that?
John Ossoff?
You mean Pee Wee Herman? Pee Wee Herman lookalike?
He called it Pee Wee Herman. He called it Pee Wee Herman. Now, right after that, he actually addressed what's going on with this ballroom construction because there's been a whole lot of criticism around it. There's been court cases around it. There's been congressional action around it. Damn, it's like we've had the last 9 presidents have some sort of construction project on the White House grounds, and this is the first one where we've got to get the Supreme Court involved, or like jeepers, I don't know if we've appropriated the money through the right channels. You know, all of a sudden they're bean counters with their green poker visor on. But in his speech yesterday, I don't even know if he was supposed to tell us everything he told us about the new ballroom, because it sounds like this isn't just going to be a ballroom. This is going to be a defense hub. And this is going to be the underground connection through all these other disparate underground bunkers and workings under DC. On top of that, the capabilities of it to repel a drone swarm and missile strikes is all going to be built in. It sounds like he's getting that big castle thing that you got from Cobra Commander and G.I. Joe. You know, the big play set that had all the little bells and whistles on it. It's either that or whatever they call that castle that the Thundercats lived in on Third Earth. Like, all kinds of stuff is going to be built into this thing, and it takes him 2 minutes to describe it all. And I'll play that all for you coming up next on the James Show. The hidden defense secrets in the upcoming White House ballroom. That's next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, so wait till you hear what this new ballroom's going to be able to do. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Remember, when you wake up, the WBAP morning show, that is your default morning show. If it's not, then you need to switch. It really is that simple. All right, Trump wasn't expecting to come out and talk about this. This was yesterday when they were in the White House and they had invited that guy who had saved the 16-year-old girl from drowning. It was the lifeguard, the young guy. And of course, the media's there and they're going to ask him questions. And so he kind of did this off the cuff. This wasn't supposed to be about Iran. This wasn't supposed to be about the economy. This wasn't supposed to be about construction at the White House. It was all over the place. And it was actually right after that response I just played you in the last segment where he called Ossoff, Senator Ossoff, what did he call
John
him?
Ossoff said you'd rather travel with your aide, Natalie Hartman, build the ballroom than do your job as president. What is your
Who said
response,
that?
John Ossoff?
You mean Pee Wee Herman? Pee Wee Herman lookalike?
Yeah, Pee Wee Herman. In fact, that's when I get called racist on the show, we have a little trick here where if someone accuses me of being Hitler or racist, I play the sound that if they said the secret word on Pee Wee's Playhouse. So whenever that's what that's from. Make a high, make a hiney ho. But after that, he off the cuff rolled into this discussion of what this ballroom is going to be capable of. And this isn't for two-stepping around the room. Check this out. It's 2 minutes.
In addition, they've been trying to get a ballroom for the last 150 years. And when I said I was going to build a ballroom, the military asked if they could see me. And they say, sir, we have an opportunity to go down deep into the ground and build a military facility to go with the White House and to go with all of Washington, D.C., which would be so valuable. And then they came up with the drone port on top, which would be a major drone port to protect the White House and all of D.C. And all of those things added up, and it became much more than just a ballroom. And I said to myself, wow, what an opportunity. I mean, if I was just going to build a ballroom, I could have had it built very quickly because I build very well and very quickly. We went 5 stories down into the ground. We did a lot of tremendous things for the military, things that they could never get. They said, this is an opportunity that we have because you're building the ballroom, that if you would be willing to spend more time, we would love to be able, we've been trying to do this at the White House for many, many years, and they've been trying to have a ballroom at the White House for many, many years. Now, what happened is we used to use tents, and the tents are usually made of either a plastic material, or canvas. And they wouldn't stop a .22 caliber. They wouldn't stop anything in terms of safety. It'd be very dangerous. And they haven't used a tent for years. They haven't had any big, like we have President Xi coming on September 24th or so. I think it's September 24th. And we'd love to have 2,000 people coming to dinner and celebrating a nice evening, et cetera, but we only have a room that's going to hold 89 people, and 89 people is not appropriate. So maybe more importantly, it's totally secure with bulletproof windows, bulletproof sides. It's drone-proof, it's missile, every at the top of the line. And we need it, and especially with what's happened, unfortunately, to the world, you could say.
So you can see a little bit more of what is behind the thinking of this ballroom once you digest that 2 minutes. Because what that implies is right now, or without changing the ballroom, they didn't have drone defense capabilities built into the previous ballroom. That makes sense. You know, the East Wing was built when they didn't have drones. There wasn't drone swarms, but now we've been seeing them be used so effectively in the Ukraine and Iran and different theaters of war here. We kind of need one. In fact, they talked about how many proofs it was. It's missile proof, it's bulletproof, it's all the proofs. It goes down 5 stories. I bet it goes down deeper than that. But I can see the national security angle on this. Plus, people keep shooting at him. So let's not have an event where the only thing that's between me and the nearest sniper is a piece of burlap, piece of canvas. And for those of you who would think guns are scary, he referenced a .22 caliber. That's pretty much the smallest bullet possible. But yeah, to keep him safe from assassinations, to keep him safe from foreign invasion or foreign attacks, drone attacks, you know, we got to keep these things built up. And I don't know, I kind of wish he would have said that at the beginning. That would have made it a little better. But now I'm imagining this awesome, almost cartoonish level of defense to where are we going to see the ballroom where they're having some inauguration or someone's wedding reception, or we're receiving some head of state from some country on the other side of the planet, and there's going to be a drone swarm that's going over DC, and then all of a sudden what's going to happen? The roof of the ballroom is going to open up and all these counter defense drones are going to come out. These missile batteries are going to sort of aim and shoot themselves. I think that's what we got going on here. That, and I'm like 12 years old again, and I'm playing with my friend's G.I. Joe setup. That's what it feels like. So yeah, I learned quite a bit about the ballroom just based on Trump talking off the cuff there. Here's a real update, though, on what's actually going on with Iran, not just the debate around it in the Strait of Hormuz. Trey Yinks gives you the actual details about the latest situation, Trump, Iran, all that stuff.
Today, the memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran expires. It's been 60 days since it was signed, and reports indicate very little diplomatic progress to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. All of this is taking place as President Trump told Fox News that Iran should put up the white flag of surrender. He added that I have no time schedule. I'm not in a hurry. The president also warned that he would bomb the S out of Oman if they got in the way, as reports indicate ongoing talks between Iran and Oman about control of the strait. Now, international shipping data indicated only 5 cargo ships passed through the strait on Saturday and none on Sunday. This is due to Iran continuing attacks on vessels.
All right, so we have the Leonard Skinner Foreigner Tour coming to Dos Equis Pavilion August 28th. It's the Double Vision, Double Trouble Tour. See what they did there. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Leonard Skinner and Foreigner, Dos Equis Pavilion, August 28th, livenation.com. All right, now coming up next on The James Show, I'm going to continue this. I'm not giving up on COVID accountability, and you shouldn't either. All the politicians that went out and lied about this or were duped. Look, lied or duped is just a small level of difference here, because then you're either dishonest or incompetent. Either way, these people should lose their job. And when I say these people, I'm talking about politicians. I'm talking about doctors. I'm talking about media. I'm talking about news anchors. I'm talking about sheriffs. I'm talking about police chiefs. There needs to be a reckoning. No, I'm not forgetting it. No, I'm not going to let it slide because it's been a long time. No, I'm not going to, just let it go. What's the point? No, it was the biggest violation of constitutional rights in our entire life. And if we don't put our foot down on this, we're not going to put our foot down anywhere. You're just setting yourself up. If you let the tyrants run free, you have to punish them. I'll try and make the case next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and I'm not ready to give up on COVID accountability yet. Now, there's a lot of people who don't want to revisit the COVID situation because it makes them look like a fool. It makes them look like they were either in on it or duped, and neither one of that is a good look. But what we have, without the reckoning, the people that are on the network news, the people that are still at the TV stations, the people that are still writing columns for whatever newspapers, the people that are still on other radio channels and other radio shows that all got it wrong, what are they supposed to do? Say, oh my goodness, it was the biggest, most egregious violation of constitutional rights in American history, and I was duped, or I was in on it. Millions of people died, and I fell for the lies every step of the way. I fell for the lie that it was made in a lab, or it wasn't made in a lab. I fell for a lie that we have to close our schools and ruin 2 years of our kids' education. I fell for the lie that we had to keep people from going to their own grandmother's funeral. I fell for those lies that we had to close down churches even while we were letting leftists protest in the street in giant crowds. So this isn't going to be something that they do willingly. This is something that is going to have to be forced upon them. And it's not that we're mean or vindictive. It's just plain old justice. It's just the right thing to do. I don't enjoy grounding my children. I don't enjoy taking their phone away. But when they do something wrong, it's the right thing to do. And just like we don't punish horse thieves in an effort to restore the horses, we punish the horse thieves so that horses won't be stolen in the future. So let's do a couple of reminders here. I love the fact that I keep seeing this passed around. Don't let it stop. But let's go back. CNN in October of 21. October of 21. So we are a year and a half into this. There is no excuse for any ignorance or I didn't know or the doctors all said or there was a consensus. No, we knew by this point. We knew by this point that the vaccine didn't prevent you from getting it, didn't prevent you from getting sick, didn't prevent you from having symptoms, being hospitalized, or dying. We also now had enough information from observing the real world that we knew masks were a joke. We knew social distancing meant nothing, it was made up out of whole cloth. We knew lockdowns meant absolutely nothing, and there was no scientific backing for those whatsoever. But even after a year and 9 months, 8 months of real world evidence that all of these things that they had been pushing this entire time were fake, this is a CNN reporter who went down to Miami because the Team Blue narrative was that, you know what, you should be allowed to go to school if and only if you get the vax. But there was a private school in Miami that wasn't playing by the rules because they were smart. And they said, you can only come to school if you haven't had the vax. If you've had the vaccine, you might be sick. You should stay home for 30 days to make sure you're going to be okay and won't harm the unvaxxed kids. Sounded silly at the time, turned out to be 100% correct. The principal of the school did not respond to comments, did not want to do an interview, did not want to be on TV, would not sit down and on camera. So they went and they ambushed him when he was walking from the building, from his office to his car. Everything the CNN reporter says here is wrong. Everything the principal did was right, but check this out.
Well, I think it's a family decision and we should respect, like everybody's privacy.
It is a family decision, but it makes everyone safer because so many people have gotten the vaccinations. Tens of thousands of people are not dying.
There's a lot of people who get the vaccine and it's dying right now.
Nah, that's not true.
So, no, it is true.
No, it's not true.
Fox News says the truth.
Fox News says it's true, but that's definitely not true. It's false. That's the problem.
Fox News is the one that you can get,
Now, let me just tell you, sir, the greatest scientists in the world know that this vaccine is saving lives. So my question for you is...
He's not the best scientist in the world.
Yeah, well,
that's just one opinion,
Yeah, you're hearing bad information, sir. But with all due respect, I wish you good health.
Thank you so much. Same to you. Have a great day.
The greatest scientists in the world say, you were wrong, sir. A little humility, please. And for those of us who are right, we don't need to be humble in this moment. That guy from CNN owes that principal in Miami an apology. And I don't mean he needs to float him a text message. I mean, he should be on CNN on camera playing that video and saying, I can't believe I got it this wrong. I can't believe I went there and harassed this guy. I can't believe I went down there and I condescendingly mocked him. The greatest scientist in the world. He was wrong. That guy was right. And how about a little reflection, CNN? How about, oh, well, if you've heard it from Fox News, these people are idiots. They got it right. You got it wrong. You ever going to go correct the record on that? And how about a little pause right now in your just so cocksured nature on, well, socialism's better than capitalism, or we've got to do this program, or the economy's going to tank if we do this or that, or how about a little reflection? How about a little humility? Here's another example. Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon on CNN mocking people for taking ivermectin.
People who are injecting drugs for animals and horse.
And people telling them to. Oh my God. What person? You know, you talk about cancel culture and who to shame. Ivermectin, a dewormer, really?
They are shaming themselves. No one has to shame them. They're shaming themselves.
No, they need to be shamed.
Yeah.
They need to be called out and shamed, brother.
Turned out they were right. You need to be shamed. You owe him an apology. Here's Adam Carolla, who actually shared that clip I just played. Chris Cuomo wasn't happy about it and texted him.
I got a text from Chris Cuomo the other day because I retweeted one of his bad looks.
This is great.
And he's like, "What's up, bro? Like, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just retweeting what you said. Like, listen, everybody. You said a lot of stupid during COVID, and I got a lot of foisted on me thanks to people like you saying a lot of stupid." And so did Aaron Rodgers. So now it's 5 years later. I know a lot of people don't like the fact that it's being relitigated. Perhaps you should have shut the up back then. You can give your opinion. Stop attacking people. You attacked people, and now people are rubbing it back in your face. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's how the world works.
And remember how one-sided it was back then. Back then, Joe Rogan wasn't saying shame on all these people for not believing me on ivermectin, or shame on all these people for not taking ivermectin. He's like, well, that's what the doctor prescribed for me. I took it. It worked. Do with that information what you will. But on the other side, Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo on CNN, shame on all these people. Little bit of humility, please. And remember, all the people that got it so wrong during every facet of COVID, they're getting everything wrong today. And it is an injustice that any of these people still have their job for one more minute. Coming up next on the James Show, you're going to meet Zach Kraft with the RNC, who's going to give you a preview of the midterm convention because free tickets became available online. I'll tell you how to get them next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we have the biggest political event coming to town in less than a month. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm talking about the Republican midterm convention. It's going to be at the American Airlines Center, where I'm broadcasting right now, September 9th and 10th. And tickets became available to you, the general public, today. The cost of nothing. How is this possible? I don't know. Let me ask a guy from the RNC himself, Zach Kraft, coming on the James Show. Welcome, Zach. So how does this work? I found the link through the Dallas Express. I shared it out on my Facebook, or the WBAP Facebook and Twitter feed. And it asks you how many tickets you want, and you have to fill in what their email address and phone number, and that's it. Well, how do you keep bad actors from staying out? You know, if I was one of these buttheads that like to interrupt and protest everything, well, what's to keep them from signing up and ruining the party? Well, this seems to be treated just as big as the national conventions that happen in the presidential election cycle. In fact, I saw that this is going to be the biggest convention the Republicans have had of any kind since, I believe, 2016. Well, there's also, I noticed people are scheduling all kinds of events for pre-parties and after parties. Is the Republican Party having an official event, or are we just kind of on our own with all the circuses happening around it? Well, I can tell you're an incredibly positive guy when it comes to this event. So am I going to get to meet you when you come down here, Zach? Okay, now when you get down here, I'm going to be leaning on you to bring some good guests. We are at the American Airlines Center, so it shouldn't be a far walk. All right, Zach, help me out. Ooh, oh my God, you'd be my new best friend. Heck yeah. All right, well, thank you, Zach. If you want tickets to this, the link that Zach was talking about to get those tickets, it is available right now, but you have to go to the social media feed. You have to go either WBAP's Facebook or X feed right now. This is Alan and LaRue. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Alan, go.
Yes, sir. Hey, Dr. Fauci. So, Autopan, if Joseph Mengele would have known about getting an auto pen from Hitler, would that have stopped him from doing bio warfare, war crimes against the planet?
Probably not.
I think we need to offer his ass up to some other country that was affected by COVID.
Yeah. So most countries on planet Earth.
Yes, sir. So maybe Angola or something can whoop some answers out of him. He will not have Joe Biden auto paying pardon. He's a war criminal against the planet.
You know, there is no hyperbolic language when it comes to him, Alan. You're not going to shock me by saying that.
I'm just. I mean, that's real. That should be reality. Isn't that what Joseph Mengele did in World War II?
Look, I get it, Alan. The problem we have is half of the country doesn't recognize that. I dare you to go look on some of my Facebook posts, or, you know, I have the little short videos where I'm talking about Dr. Fauci needs to go to jail. People in the comments section are defending him to this day. People in the comments section are saying Fauci is an American hero. Fauci saved millions. You're just making stuff up. Oh, look, these right-wing idiots just have to make stuff up because the real world doesn't work for them anymore. Dude, they don't know. We haven't even broken through. Half of the country doesn't even know that they were duped. That's how hard they were duped. Great call, though. 800-288-9227 if you want to jump in. But next, Shaquille O'Neal has an idea that just might save the WNBA. And I'm not making fun of him. I'm not making fun of the league. I think he's right. I think one small change could turn that league around. Find out next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Texas homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. And when it's time to spruce up your house, you know, maybe it needs a new paint job, go in a different direction. If your house was a bunch of browns and neutral earth tones before, why don't you do the modern thing where you do a bunch of black, whites, and grays? And you can do that with Rhino Shield because it'll stick to anything. It'll stick to the wood parts of your house. It'll stick to the stucco. It'll stick to the hardy board. It'll stick to the brick. It'll stick to the, maybe if your house is made of meatloaf or something, we can find something it doesn't stick to. But everything they've tried thus far, it's stuck to. And you get this new space age technology that will look good even in 10 years, even in 20 years. There's a 25-year transferable warranty, and you would be saving money on your energy costs right now that it's going to be 1,000 degrees for the next 6 days. So you should have done this yesterday, but you might as well make up for it now. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Shockingly, this next segment about the WNBA is actually going to include some talk about basketball. Isn't that amazing? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Because, look, the WNBA keeps coming into the news and keeps coming on your radar for reasons besides basketball. And last year, it was funny because they were throwing the adult toys on the court. Y'all remember that? That was their big problem. People kept throwing the big honking, you know what, out there. And it just kept happening over and over. And we were like, who are these heroes? But we were talking about the WNBA, but we weren't talking about basketball. When we talk about the racism, when we talk about trans stuff, when we talk about the circus around the game, but not the game, you know, that's really, to be fair, how we talk about most sports on this show. This is not a sports show. This is not a sports station. So when I talk about sports, you don't hear me doing a whole lot of X's and O's on anything, to be fair. Talking about the Cowboys or the Rangers or the Stars or the Mavs or something like that. It's a story that transcends the actual sport itself. But let's actually talk about the sport itself. Because if you cut through all the emotion, all the drama, all the extra, Shaquille O'Neal said something that I cannot stop thinking about. You want to fix the WNBA? You want viewership to go up on its own without some gimmick? Without some news story, without some political abrasion? All you got to do to change the entire feel of the game would be to lower the rim. Now, that sounds simple, but think about it. One of the big pullbacks, one of the big things you notice differently from the WNBA versus the NBA or men's college basketball or men's high school basketball is the absolute lack of dunking. And that's one of your favorite parts about basketball. Seeing someone just cram it down, hang from the rim. It's a good look. So Shaquille O'Neal's little idea, call me crazy, I think this might save the WNBA.
I have a solution for the WNBA. Right. So I don't know if you know, in males beach volleyball and women's beach volleyball, the net is lowered just a little bit.
That's what?
It's lowered. The net is lowered. So the only thing missing from the WNBA to the NBA game is the dunk. So imagine, I'm not saying lower it to 9 feet or 8 feet.
Just so they can dunk.
So they can dunk.
More of that.
Just a little bit. So I think if they did that, it'd make the game more exciting. Because look, they got the handles, they got the shooters, they got the showmanship. They just don't have the dunk.
You know what? There's something to that. There is something that I'm not saying I would become a fan or I would start watching, but it would make it a lot more exciting for the people who are on the cusp. And when you think about it in the terms, like, I loved how he compared that to volleyball. Because in the volleyball world, the net is lower for women. But you see the accommodations being made in other sports as well. Gentlemen, when you go out and you play a little golf, there's different tees. Guess which one is the furthest front? Guess which one is the closest to the hole to start with? Yeah, the women, they have their own tee box. Nah, this makes perfect sense. The low light reels that are floating around. Like there was a game this weekend where Angel Reese missed like 11 layups. And if you put them back to back, it looks really bad. But look at how far away she is from the rim. And women can't jump as high on average as men. So a layup is a lot harder of a shot. How good would your layups look if you were shooting on a 12-foot rim or maybe 14-foot rim? Because, I think we have it separated in our heads that when you see like Sophie Cunningham, this big, skinny, tall, blonde girl, the pointy one, that one, she looks really tall, doesn't she? She's one of the taller ones on the court. She's the down banging around in the paint. I'm 2 inches taller than her. You understand that? I'm just a talk show host who happens to be a dude. I'm 2 inches taller than her. Here's another little secret of the pros. I am the shortest talk show host on WBAP, and I'm 6'3". So we forget how far away are these girls from the rim? A lot farther than I am. A lot farther than most guys are in the NBA. No, I think this would solve it. In fact, I always joked that when my little kids played little dribblers when they were in elementary school in their first like one little failed season of basketball, it was on a lowered rim, and I used to think we should keep this thing lower through, I don't know, till we get to about middle school. Maybe we should raise this for high school. But I even remember thinking about that. Maybe we should just leave it a little bit lower for the girls. And then I completely forgot about it until Shaq brought it up. And this is a much better discussion than what we were used to over the last couple of weeks.
I am not a biologist. How can I be expected to define what a woman is? If you think you know how to tell the difference between a man and woman, please speak up.
Boys have a penis, girls have vagina.
Yes, this is what we've been dealing with in the WNBA for the last few weeks. But no, Shaq's on to something. I don't know. Am I just too optimistic here? Am I just too over my skis thinking that would save it? Maybe it would bring a couple of new viewers, but it's not going to save the league. I don't know. I kind of hope it does. I would really like to see that league make its own money and not have to live as a product of a grievance, because that's what it is now. It's a charity case. It's a welfare program based on gender grievance. And I would like to see it succeed. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, data center meetings all over the place. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, Texas homeowners. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. If you have any doubt about your roof, if you are about to sell your house and your roof is super old and you want to get it checked out, it doesn't cost anything to make sure. Go to blueribbondfw.com, schedule your free roof inspection. They'll come out, they'll get on your house, they'll take some pictures, they'll leave you a folder, like a little trapper keeper of a bunch of info. And if you have the time to sit down and have a chat with John, you will be maybe not a pro when it comes to roofing materials and shingles, but you'll be a top-seeded amateur, because it was kind of fun learning about shingles. I know that sounds weird, but you know that, like, in the shingle world, there's a Coke and there's a Pepsi, and these two behemoths are battling out, or I guess it'd be more appropriate, Coke and Dr. Pepper. And, you know, it's just a matter of taste between the two. But anything other than those two brands, you're selling yourself short, and you're going to regret it later. And here's why. And they're thinner, and this is the material difference. And there's 3 tabs and 2 tabs. And I don't even remember everything he taught me there. But when it's time to get your roof taken care of, take care of the company that takes care of the James Show. Go to blueribbondfw.com. All right, we're only going to do one segment on data centers because I got a whole bunch of other stuff here. And this isn't even going to be me lecturing you about how you're wrong on data centers. You are, but I'm just going to pass along some information that would actually help the other side. You people that want to go protest against them, I'll help you. I'll even tell you where the protests are at. But WFAA had a great summary here. You know, they've actually been pretty reasonable there. How about shout out Haddad and Sadeghi? Those are the two good reporters that I see them, and I don't think I've winced once. Natalie Haddad and Chris Sadeghi. But there's a bunch of data center meetings in North Texas. Thought you'd like to know. WFAA.
Hey, good morning to you. Yes, the debate over data centers continues across North Texas, and we're going to start here in Denton this morning, where in just a couple of hours, Denton County Commissioner's Court, will have a meeting, and they will be given a presentation on the latest on data centers here in the area, and they may possibly take action. But guys, this is just the start of a very busy day. Later on today, Denton City Council will continue by moving forward with possible moratorium on new data centers, a temporary pause while the city works on stricter rules for future development. Now, this all comes as the fight over a new data center in Westlake now plays out in Tarrant County. A judge issued a temporary restraining order yesterday blocking Westlake from moving forward with the development agreement for the project. Neighboring city of Keller has been pushing back on the new data center because it would sit by nearby homes in that city. Keller City Council meets again today with, quote, possible legal action related to the Westlake data center on the table. Now, while these facilities may bring in business and tax revenue, what's really at the center of this debate in all of these counties in North Texas comes from the water usage, the electricity usage, how much this may affect utility prices for those living nearby these data centers. So later on this morning at 9 a.m. when Denton County Commissioner's Court meets, I'll be in that meeting to see just what exactly comes of these massive facilities in this particular area. I'll send it back to you, Matt.
All right, thank you so much, Natalie. Another data center is also planned near FM 1385 and Parvin Road on the Denton County side of Prosper. Our partners at the Dallas Business Journal report that White Rose Partners is looking to invest $500 million in the project, and it would create up to 50 new jobs in that area. Prosper's Planning and Zoning Commission was scheduled to review the project today. However, they took it off the agenda to allow more time for review. The proposed site sits next to an existing substation with the nearest homes more than a quarter mile away.
You know, I have a feeling in a year or two, data centers are never going to come up again, and we're all just going to accept that that's part of life now, because this is a wholly made up, well, I don't want to say wholly, this is a 99% made up sensational story. There are 621 data centers already completed in Texas that are online and working. Did you get any stories for the years and years and years that we've had data centers? You know, the first data center was built, I believe, if you want to be a jerk about it, in the 1940s. But data centers, as long as we have had the internet, have been exploding. So the late 80s, early 90s, data centers were everywhere. That's when they started to be everywhere. You probably drove past 4 data centers on your way to work today. There's data. Look up where the data centers are. There's like 2 of them on Elm Street down here. You wouldn't even know. But data centers somehow in the last year have been able to get people worked up. And it's not just people getting worked up, it's getting news coverage. And people are showing up at meetings for the permit process for these. There weren't people protesting at the permit process for the first 621. Why now? There wasn't the news out there ginning this up for the first 621. Why now? Doesn't this all feel manufactured? Doesn't this all feel fake? Isn't the coincidence that thousands of people just all of a sudden at the same time after 620 data centers decided that data center 622 was too much? It's fake. It's just all contrived. I don't know who's behind it. I don't know if it's one group of people or if it's several group of people whose interests just sort of converge here. But I don't believe in coincidences like that. Especially not after COVID, not after what we saw there. Oh, yeah, it's just a coincidence that the virus came from a wet market and not the Wuhan novel respiratory coronavirus lab. Which virus? Oh, yeah, the novel respiratory coronavirus that happened in Wuhan. I don't believe in those coincidences. Also, another town hall that's happening or several of them happening around town for the Dallas budget. Now, I don't give these much stock at all. But if it makes you feel better to go out and air your grievances to city councilmen in their district as they try not to roll their eyes in your face, I mean, you can go do it. But the rumor mill is so ugly on stuff like this.
Happening tonight, Dallas wants your input on its budget, a $51 million shortfall. The city kicked off a series of town halls on a proposed $5.5 billion budget, the largest in Dallas history. Tonight's town halls start at 6, and more are planned for Thursday.
Yeah, I don't like that. Don't like that at all. Are the people going to go? Do they ever show up to these meetings and say what you want them to say? Do they show up to these meetings and they're like, hey, we really need to get rid of DART. We really need to get rid of all the public libraries. We really need to get rid of bike lanes. We could really cut this government by more than half. Now, it has been your observation that most, not all, of course not all, but most of the people going up there are trying to get money out of the system. They're trying to get their grubby little hands in the cookie jar and bring it back to themselves or their community. That's what it is. Well, we need to have this program to put water fountains in the park. Oh, yeah? Well, who's getting the water fountain contract? That's just a coincidence. He happens to be a donor to XYZ. Oh, no, we need a new program for homeless. We need a new program for children, or we need a new program for midnight basketball, or we need a new library location, or we got to paint the steps gay, or whatever it is. They're almost always asking for something that you disagree with. Or I should just talk for myself. They're almost always asking for something I disagree with. And does it even change the outcome? Not really. You think these guys that are getting paid off, they're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars under the table, you think they're going to care about the grievance of some well-intended stay-at-home mom from East Dallas? Again, I don't want to be so cynical that I don't want you to participate in the process or be unaware or just write it all off. I'm just skeptical about these people going out there, getting matching T-shirts, preparing their speech, taking their 2 minutes, making a good point, making a big show, getting on the news, clipping it, going viral, putting it on YouTube, putting it on social media, putting it on Instagram, but it doesn't do anything. It's the illusion of doing something. And as long as you're occupied chasing illusions, you're missing the real work. So that's kind of what I don't like about this whole setup with the public comments. But hey, listen up. This Labor Day, $1,000 could be yours. Enter now for your chance to win and make your holiday a little sweeter. Enter this national contest today, WBAP.com, sponsored locally by Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. Now, coming up next, to give you a little more in-depth talk about this budget process and all the shenanigans going on and the shady stuff in Dallas City Hall, you're going to hear from a local councilman on the Dallas City Council. Karen Mendelson returns to The James Show next on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, you're about to hear from a Dallas city councilman. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And this is a tough one for me because we do invite people on from all the local governance. I don't want to say all. And I am shocked at how, for people who are in the business of public relations and getting votes, how many people are willing to turn down being on the afternoon show of the biggest talk radio station in all of the great state of Texas. But Kara Mendelson's not scared. She'll come on. She's not here yet, but she's supposed to be here soon, and she's been on before. She's the only one on the city council that I don't think, have we actually emailed each person specifically from the city council? Because I know we've floated some emails out to a few of them. I know I've reached out to a few of them on Twitter and on social media. We've reached out to the mayor a few times, just haven't gotten back from them. And I don't know. Do you see me? Do I have a reputation for destroying political careers? I don't think I do. Whose political career have I destroyed around here? Absolutely nobody. Now, I'm not saying I'm above that. No, I wouldn't be willing to do it in the right circumstances. But the Dallas budget situation, even though it doesn't directly affect a lot of people who are listening right now, it's actually something that you could pretty much just echo this in your local city council to some degree. Because the incentive is always going to be there for the powers that be to spend as much money as they possibly can. That's a lever of power for them. And if they can possibly squeeze some more taxes out of the citizenry. And so we have a couple of push and pull situations here where tax cuts are what sell the voters, but tax hikes are what gives the people who are already in charge more power. So in the middle of this push and pull here, we get some sneaky things that are happening. Dallas is bragging about lowering their tax rate, but if you look at the minute amount that the tax rates are being lowered versus the amounts that the appraisals are going up, your taxes are still going up. And it's not even illegal or libel or slander or whatever it is to say, hey, we're lowering your taxes when your tax rates are going lower, but the nominal amounts going up. Now, what do you think the comparison is here? Because up in Frisco, they're talking about raising taxes. This was a move that would take it from 42.5 cents per $100 of assessed value to 44.1 cents per $100 of assessed value. So you think, you're like, well, I don't know, how does that compare? Well, in Plano, the proposed tax rate, $43.96, or 43 cents, 43.96 cents per $100 of value. But what is it in Dallas? Dallas is 66 cents per $100 of value. So when you look at just the nominal, or not the nominal, when you look at the rate, you're paying 150% of the tax rate in Dallas that you would be paying if you had just moved to Frisco or Plano. Here's a dirty little secret. Who's doing the best out there? What's the brightest, shiniest, safest, most affluent city this North Texas area has to offer? Hands down, it's Highland Park. What's their tax rate? 12 cents. James, that sounds a little low. What are you talking about? Well, I understand that the houses are a little more expensive in Highland Park. Oh, I misspoke. 19 cents, 19.92 cents is what it is in Highland Park. All right, now joining me, Kara Mendelson. And Kara, first off, I don't even know what to tell the people listening. If you own property, if you own a house in Dallas, are your taxes going down or up under this new proposal? Kara? Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me now? Oh, that's all right. So for the people who have property in Dallas, are your taxes going down or up under the new budget? So, what is the excuse for the property tax rate in Dallas being about 150% of what it is in Plano and Frisco? Yeah, that seems kind of disappointing here. Kara, the idea that we need to spend more money and we need to take in more debt and we need to propose more bonds and we need our tax rates to go up. How many people are for that versus against it on the Dallas City Council? You don't have to name names, but are you one person standing athwart everyone else? Boo, no libraries, boo. That is so dumb. Oh, God. All right. Now you're ticking me off. Kara Mendelson, City Councilwoman on the James Show. Thank you for telling us some of the inside secrets there. You did just tell me about more programs to hate on. Right on. All right, Karen Mendelson, thank you very much for being on the James Show. Keep me updated on the budget process, and I'll keep making fun of them for you. All right, coming up next on the James Show, the State Fair of Texas has some cuts, and I mean actual cuts to the price of admission. You'll hear about it next on the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The State Fair of Texas, right around the corner, might be a little cheaper this year than last year. WFAA has the story. Well, I thought WFAA had the story. All right. WFAA did have the story, and they played it this morning. My computer decided it's going to freeze up. I have no idea why. But it's not big cuts. So the price of admission, if you're an adult, is going to be $2 less than it was last year. And I know $2 is $2. That doesn't sound huge. But you got to think, say, take someone like myself. I happen to have myself. I have Miss Parker, and I have 4 kids. So if each ticket's going to save a couple bucks, there's 6 of us. That's $12. Now we're talking a little bit. Now we're getting somewhere. So, every little cut on its own may not sound huge, but there's always people who are on the cusp of going or not going. And for many of the people, this could be a deciding factor. All right, let's do the WFAA clip this time.
The State Fair is slashing prices weeks before the gates open at Fair Park. Adult tickets will be $2 cheaper. Not a ton, but hey, it helps. Tickets for children between 3 and 12 years old will cost $10, and that's also the admission price for anyone who goes to the fair after 5 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Parking in official State Fair lots is now $25, and the State Fair opens, by the way, if you're wondering, September 25th.
I really wish they would give Big Tex a gun. That's sort of my reaction. I know that sounds like a non sequitur there, but of all the things that we could do to improve the State Fair and make it the most Texas place ever, shouldn't we give him a gun? Shouldn't he have a gun? And I've been talking today about the meetings that are being had around North Texas. There's a lot of them going on this week. There's some about data centers. There's some about mosques being built. There's some about the budget. There's some about libraries. There's some about homeless. In fact, homeless has actually been an issue that's always been discussed in the city hall at the Dallas level. But I'm hearing more and more about it up in Plano, a little bit in Addison, a little bit in Frisco, a little bit in Fort Worth. And the thing you and I find so annoying about the homeless problem is it's an easily solvable problem. These people aren't homeless because there's no shelters for them to go to or they don't have anywhere to go. There are empty beds and shelters in every major metropolitan area in 2026 in America. That's how wealthy and generous and good we are. That's how supportive we are of our homeless brothers out there. But they're mental cases. They don't want to live in there. They want to get messed up on whatever they're addicted to, be it drugs or alcohol, or maybe they're just far gone down schizophrenia row. But they're all junkies. And if you don't admit that and do something to address that, you're wasting your time. Adam Carolla did a great rant on it because, listen, he's out in Los Angeles, so they have a problem 10 times bigger than ours, and their solutions are 10 times worse. So if you think you want to pull your hair out, I couldn't imagine living in Los Angeles.
You know who I'm done with immediately? When they go, there's no one way to do this. Everyone is individual. There's no one way to come at homeless. Homeless stories are as different. No, they're junkies. They're fucked up junkies. All of them. It's not all the different rich pageantry of homeless. They're fucked up junkies, you dumb. I don't know why you guys don't understand that, but good luck solving a problem that you don't know how to correctly identify.
Man, can you imagine if someone like that ever ran for office in Dallas? Wouldn't you vote for that? Wouldn't you vote for once in your life? Someone who is supposed to be, oh, we got to revitalize downtown. Get all the junkies off the street. Well, no, we're going to spend $100 million revitalizing Clyde Warren Park, and we've got this other program, and then we've got these athletic programs, and we've got this new library program, and we've got this. No! Pick up the junkies, put them in the back of a squad car, take them down to a box, and put them in. It really is a solvable problem. Which really makes homeless people, they're just out there because what? The local authorities want them to be out there? And I guess you just kind of have to scratch your head and go, I guess so. All right, coming up next on The James Show, Kids are going back to school, and in this new paradigm of education debates, whether it be the 10 Commandments on the wall or what dirty books are in the library or when do we start school, homeschooling's looking sweeter and sweeter than ever, isn't it? We'll talk about some of those options with Lance Johnson coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So how bad do public schools have to get before we just admit that this was a mistake? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. That was our top story yesterday. And I'm bringing on my next guest as a guy who can definitely talk more in depth about this because he's a former superintendent here in North Texas who did not fall for the COVID pandemic lies and has since turned into this advocate for homeschooling and hybrid schooling and sort of everything in between. Welcome back to the James Show, Lance Johnson. All right, so a little bit of the background on us. We've stayed in touch with text messages or social media messages back and forth. And you've been real helpful whenever I talk about school. Sometimes you chime in and tell me things I don't know. But I got to be honest, Lance, I don't even know what you're doing right now. Like, what even is your job? So I've been playing some of the viral videos that have been tearing our hearts apart for the listeners who didn't hear some of my previous shows. This is a teacher at a high school here in Texas teaching seniors, Darius Williams.
So I am on my lunch break. It is, I don't know, 11:30 or something like that. And I just finished a 3-hour class. We have what's called block, and block is where first and second periods are combined for subjects that need it. And so I literally broke down in the middle of class because I'm teaching seniors. These kids are leaving high school and going to college, hopefully, after they finish. We had...
Anyway, he's saying they can't read. Lance, what's your reaction to that, and how is it different than the average person who's hearing it? All right, can you hang on just a second? Because we're talking with Lance Johnson, and he has some info in his head that I want to share with you in about 4 minutes. For the parents who are on the cusp, you have kids in public schools, and you'd really like to get them out of there, and you'd really like to do a homeschool or a hybrid or some alternative. We'll walk through what your options are next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So, you don't want your kids going to public school. What options do you have? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Remember the WBAP morning show when you wake up and get your day started tomorrow. We're continuing with Lance Johnson, who former superintendent of a public school, is now a great advocate with a head full of knowledge on how you can break free of the socialized education industry. That's the prepaid government monopoly we're all forced into. And so let's dig in that. For the guy who's listening to the show for the first time, or for the mom who's listening to the show for the first time, they really want to get their kids out of public school. What options do they have, and how do they make that happen? Even if they don't have a lot of money, even if they both have a job, even if they don't have free time, all the excuses in the world, give them some help, Lance. Mm-hmm. All right, Lance Johnson, for the people who have the common excuses, it sounds expensive, it sounds time consuming, I don't think I'm qualified. What's your standard pushback on those very common concerns? All right, Lance Johnson, is there like a website or an organization or just some direction you can push the curious people? Right. Well, you know what I haven't heard, Lance? I haven't heard a whole lot of people say that they regret homeschooling their kids. Is that even a thing? Right. Lance Johnson, got to run. I appreciate all your help. Hopefully it points someone in the right direction. That's going to do it for my time today. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. If you need more James Show action, go check out the podcast. But also, we have the link to the tickets to the Republican midterm convention. You can get some freebies if you act today. It's just a lottery drawing out there. So go sign up. The link is on the WBAP Facebook page and the WBAP Twitter/X feed. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.